South Africa will be taking on England in a massive clash at Sharjah, the final Super 12 match for South Africa to try and go for that semi final spot that we were all hoping for. Now, this is a very nerve wracking game because now, if South Africa want to stay in the tournament, the only way I can see it happening is if they beat England, one of the best teams in the tournament currently, other than Pakistan. And they've really been excellent in their approach in every single match. They showed their ability in every single way possible. They were in a pickle, they got out of it. They completely demolished the team and chased it down quickly. They were in a game that they were a little bit tested, where their middle order was tested. When their top order was tested, they got out with it with one great performance. So they've done everything that you would want from a T20 side leading into this game. Where South Africa's journey has been a little bit, you could say, different. This first game against Australia, South Africa should have won that game. They should have batted better and come to the party a lot better. They didn't. Then on the other side, they should have, against Bangladesh particularly, should have chased down the total a lot quicker. They lost wickets and it made it difficult for them. So now South Africa are in a position where Australia did what we should have done to Bangladesh, and they are now sitting second in that pool with a significant run rate or net run rate. So the only way South Africa can get into the semi-finals is if they beat England, and if by either a hefty total, which is highly unlikely, or they have to hope and cross their fingers that West Indies will come out there and give Australia a run for their money and try and beat England, of course. I mean, try and beat Australia, of course. So that's what we're going to be facing in this particular match. So we're going to get into this discussion. We're going to try and see what you guys have to say in the live chat. I would like to hear your thoughts. We have a little bit of stats from a buy. I'm not sure who is going to join us today other than Werner, but we'll see who will join us during the show while we are discussing it. Myself and Werner will get into the discussions, talk about team news and what we think is going to happen with regards to the teams, who we think should line up against England, etc., and whether South Africa have a chance to beat England. So before we get going, before we get started, you know what you have to do is subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. The magazine is free. Every single issue, 100% free, including the World Cup edition. You also need to subscribe to this channel and click that notification bell for all future videos. Please do so right away. Also smash that like button and comment and share and do all of those things too. So let's get into today's preview of the game between South Africa and England. Good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host Khalid. This is my co-host tonight, Werner, and today we'll be discussing everything that has to do with South Africa versus England. You know, I was hoping that I would come into this particular preview show with a lot more hope going into the final match, hoping that Bangladesh would come out there, hoping that Ashwell and Russell and Otis and the boys would do South Africa a favor, and Bangladesh will come out there and stun Australia for pride, play for pride, and do that. We now have to hope for the West Indies to do that. I'm going to put on the screen right now, guys, what our situation is. So, Werner, we can discuss it. Ultimately, South Africa are third, and the team that they lost in the opening game are now sitting in second with a significant net run rate. And it makes us feel a little bit of regret, I think, because we would have hoped that South Africa would have done to Bangladesh what Australia did to Bangladesh. We had an opportunity there to really put ourselves in the front on the front foot and destroy Bangladesh and chase down that total in at least 8 to 10 overs, and that didn't happen. So now we're sitting in a situation where we have to hope that West Indies beat Australia. So it's going to be one of those things that we're going to sit here and think about. And I hope South Africa doesn't think about that and let us focus on the particular game. I'm going to bring on Aditya on as well because it's Diwali for him. So happy Diwali to everybody out there as well. Welcome, Aditya.
Happy Diwali, everyone. Uh, Good to be here. I've just snuck out for a few minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, an exciting blockbuster game ahead for us, eh?
Yeah. Okay, Aditya, let me give the floor to you quickly to just give yourself some time because I know you have to go back to your family, etc. So I'm going to give you the floor, and then Werner, we can discuss Aditya's points, and then we can move on to our opinions. So take it away, Aditya.
Yeah, let's see what happens with this West Indies Sri Lanka game, because West Indies obviously trying to regain some of their confidence because they pride themselves on being a world class T20 outfit. But in saying that, I think South Africa should keep their eye on the ball. They shouldn't worry too much about things that they can't control. What they should really be thinking about is strategizing in a way that can put England under pressure on a quite a tricky Sharjah wicket. Because if there's one advantage that South Africa have over, uh, over perhaps other teams, and certainly in the game against England, is that England has not faced a bowling lineup that is capable of putting them under the sort of pressure that South Africa are capable of doing. And they can do that in different ways, whether it means that they start off with Keshav Maharaj in the power play, or if perhaps they can bring Bjorn Fortin in. He's bowled for South Africa a lot in the power play. They could be options. And then obviously we've got strike bowlers in KG and Anna, and Dwayne Pretorius has been doing an excellent job at the depth. So I think South Africa has the potential to put England under a lot of pressure. But I hope they get team selection right. For the team's sake, I hope that Temba and Quinton open the batting, um, and they make the best use of the batters available. But I think South Africa should go in with a positive mindset, and if they do have the ammunition to really make it work for them.
Mhm. Well, thanks, Aditya, for coming on and giving us your input. I really enjoy that. If you want to stay a little longer, you can do so, but you can exit when you please. Myself and Werner will get into our discussion right now. Okay, so let's get into it, Werner. Uh, where are you standing currently before I get started?
Um, yeah, I think after today's match, we're in a lot tougher position than before it. But I think we only have ourselves to blame. We definitely should have beaten Australia in the first game. Going into that game, we were definitely the stronger side. They had a lot of guys like Warner and Finch that were out of form. Stark and Cummins hadn't bowled in a while because they didn't play in the IPL. Um, they really didn't play a lot of games together leading up to this World Cup, and we were playing quite a lot. We had 5 games versus West Indies, 3 games versus Ireland, 3 versus Sri Lanka. So we were really well prepared, and we did well in our warm-up games. So I think that's the main problem. That's why I think we should be really disappointed, because coming into this game against England, we should have sealed a semi-final spot by now. If we had beaten Australia, we wouldn't be sitting here discussing. No, we have to beat England by a certain amount. If Australia beats West Indies, which is going to be tough, or we need West Indies to beat Australia. And then there's other things like the Bangladesh game. And I think more than just us not reaching the total quick enough, what my biggest gripe was, my problem was, is that I think Rabada said that in the innings break, they were told that the discussion was that they should chase the total within 15 overs. But what is 85 and 15 overs? That's not even 6 and over. So the whole thinking behind it didn't make sense to me. So you're telling me the the word from the captain and from the coach was, let's chase this within 15 overs. Like, that is difficult. Like, that is like going quickly. Like, even if you did it in 10 overs, that would only be 8.5 an over. So I don't think the thinking was right in the first place. So yes, we executed what we set out to do in that batting, but the plan was wrong in the first place. I think I said it on the group as well, that in my mind, we should have been looking to chase it within 8 overs, maximum 10 overs. But if they went out with the mindset that, okay, we want to do it within 15 overs, so doing it at 14 is fine. I thought that was the wrong mindset from the get-go. But yeah, so...
But maths hasn't really been South Africa's strong suit, as we know in the past.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's true. It is not our strong suit, but I would just have loved to seen more intent. Like, I know Rossi made 22 of 27 balls, which is very slow. I would have been fine with that if he had intent to score boundaries and he just couldn't get the ball away because he was struggling to hit the middle. But these first 20 balls, he didn't look to strike a boundary. It was like, okay, let's knock the ball around, get myself in. There wasn't really the time to do that when you consider, because we all know it was going to come down to net run rate, because there was only like 2 games left. We knew we had to get our net run rate up. And even the thinking was we had to do it within 15 overs. It's just 15 overs didn't make sense to me. But yeah, so it really is a big game coming up on Saturday. Big 2 games, actually. So the whole Saturday is going to be big, and there's rugby. So Saturday is going to be an interesting day.
Yeah, interesting. I start with the Manchester Derby, then it goes straight into the cricket, and then it's straight into the rugby. It's going to be insane, an insane Saturday for myself. Staying at home, of course, just watching sport. Yeah. At some point, we're going to have to, Werner, put that all behind us and maybe talk about the actual game and how we're going to beat England. So first and foremost, I'm going to play a quick clip by. Obviously, the time difference is 9 hours over there. They're 9 hours behind us. So obviously they in a different situation there. So he can't come on the shows because he's working all the time during this time. It's like slap bang middle of the morning, afternoon there by him. So he shot us a little video, giving us some insight into the stats and the numbers behind this. So just sit back and relax and listen to this, guys. Abaya will be updating you guys on all the numbers that you need to know going into this game.
All right. Good morning to the cricket fanatics tuning in. Great to be part of this England versus South Africa preview show, even though I'm asynchronous, but still it should be an exciting game coming up. So let's talk numbers, because numbers are what matter right now big time for South Africa. Now that we've seen Australia beat Bangladesh so easily this morning, and that's put them ahead in the points table when it comes to net run rate. So let's crunch the stats. First of all, this game's going to be in Sharjah. If we look at the average score for a team batting first, it's 155, which is not bad. But if you ask me, I would probably prefer chasing first, because that's the best way to boost the net run rate, as we saw in today's game. The highest total posted at this ground is 190 from Afghanistan against Scotland. And that was defended rather easily. And the lowest defended score was 142 from West Indies against Bangladesh. So really anything can happen. And if we look at some of the best performances with the bat, Joss Butler's century against Sri Lanka, and of course Charith Asalanka's 80 not out against Bangladesh. So they both struck around 160, which is fairly impressive. So when it comes to England, they managed to get out of the hole and post a competitive score against Sri Lanka. And coincidentally, both England and South Africa have played against Sri Lanka on this ground and won their game. But the big difference is South Africa nearly stumbled at the end, but some brutal hitting from Miller and Rabada helped seal the deal, even though it was a pretty tense contest. So with that being said, there's a lot riding on this game, and if South Africa win the toss by any chance, the best thing to do would probably be to bowl first, because if for a team that's going to bat first, they're going to have to post a pretty big score. And if we look at the approach of the South African batsmen, they tend to be a bit more on the conservative side. It's something we've been talking about on a lot of shows, and if they're going to hurt and defeat top teams like England, that approach has to change, and there's got to be more fearless cricket. There's nothing at all to complain about the bowling. In fact, the bowling has been the strongest suit for South Africa in this tournament, but it's the batting that has to click. In fact, against Bangladesh, it was a chance to boost the net run rate big time after bowling them out for 84. But again, a few early wickets pushed the Proteas back to playing a bit more careful cricket, should I say. So at the end of the day, for all intents and purposes, this is a must-win game. It doesn't really matter what happens in the Australia versus West Indies game, because now the Australians have a sizable lead when it comes to net run rate. It may be like 0.2 something, but it's still pretty significant. And to make up that lost ground, this has to be a fairly convincing win.
Yeah, he summed it up beautifully over there. With some of the stuff he said there is what we said, but what's interesting is over there is that average score. South Africa need to think beyond that. So far in this tournament, we've been thinking about like that. We're getting to that bare minimum average score on the grounds, and we're trying to defend it. With England, if we lose the toss and decide that we're going to chase, we can't be thinking bar with England. We need to bat them out the ground. So when it comes to that scenario, first and foremost, Werner, South Africa need to then almost think of their team in the balance has to be right, because you can't necessarily, we don't have the luxury of picking a team that will cover all grounds necessarily. We have to pick to our game plan that we want to stick to. So if we're going to pick a Bjorn Fortuin, I think we should, because the best chance we have against England is 3 spinners in my eyes. It's to play Maharaj, to play Bjorn, as well as to play Shamsi. That is the best option. But then we're going to bat a little light. But that means then that the power play is going to be so important. So from my perspective, I think we just need to give Klaasen another opportunity in that number 6 role and move everybody up and drop Riza, because
Now I have no one to back me up, so I don't know if it's only me. Let's see, you are frozen, or if I am the problem.
I think it was both of us. It just StreamYard just blanked out over there. Completely. It wasn't my Wi-Fi, luckily, because I'm checking the bars are correct. But anyway, Werner, from your perspective, I mentioned before the blackout there. I would go as far as going left field completely, and maybe opening up the batting with Aiden, trying to maximize that power play as best as possible. But we're going to need Quinton de Kock to come to this party. It's his time now to shine.
Yeah, it is. We're definitely going to need him to step up and need some form. And he usually does against England, so let's hope he does again on Saturday. I agree with you. I do believe we need to drop Riza and bring Klaasen in. Even though Klaasen isn't in the best of form, if you can hit 2 balls to the boundary at the back end, that could make a difference. And I still feel we can't have Riza, Rassie, and Bavuma all in the top order, and then Markram batting at 5 and Miller at 6. It just doesn't sit right with me. Markram is our most informed batsman, so he shouldn't be coming any lower than 4. I would like to open with him, but then Temba is coming in lower. So I think it's going to depend on the situation. If we are batting first, then I'd open with Quinny and Temba. Hope that they finally lay a platform for us, which hasn't been happening this whole tournament, but we could really do with that good platform in this game. And then, depending on how good the platform is, then we can decide if we want to change up the rest of the order. If it's going really well and we have, I don't know, 100 at 100 we lose our first wicket after 12 overs, then we can send in Markram and then Miller, and then we take it from there. On the other hand, if we're batting, if we lose an early wicket, then you can send in Rassie. And you can work it through. But then if we're chasing, which we would hope that we will, because that will make things easier in knowing what we need to chase, how quickly we have to chase to get our net run rate. right? Because if Australia beat West Indies, we're going to not only have to beat England, we're going to have to beat them by a certain over to surpass Australia's net run rate, probably. So it would be better if we chase. So if we do chase, and let's say we're chasing, because England is really a good batting team, and we are a good bowling team, but so let's say it evens out and they get to par 160. It's above par for Sharjah, but about below par for what England will get usually. So let's say 160. Then I would open with Quinny and Markram, and try and get a big power play. And anyway,
bring Miller in at 3.
Bring Miller in at 3. Bring Klaasen in at 4. Let's see. Bring Rabada in at 5. Let him hit some sixes. But yeah, so, and obviously we've seen at Sharjah how important the power play is, and the stats that's going around about whoever has the better whoever has the better power play tends to win the game. And obviously it only gets more difficult to bat later if you're batting first before the dew sets in. It only becomes more difficult later in the innings. So you want to have a solid power play. You need to get at least 50 in the power play to set yourself up for the rest of the game, because whoever is coming in at the back end is not going to be easy to come in and just smash the ball from ball 1. We've seen that, unless the bowlers miss their lengths. That's also the other crucial thing about Sharjah. You need to hit that back of the length. If you're floating the ball up into the slot, then it's going to travel. It's a small ground, and then the slowness of the pitch doesn't come into it. Or if you bowl full tosses. But if you hit that back of the length, it's really hard for the batsman coming in to start hitting from ball 1. And we've seen it. It's been sometimes going slow, sometimes fast, sometimes bouncing a bit, mostly keeping low. So it's really not easy. So it's going to depend. And this is our first night game. So that's just another reason why it would be good to bat second, because we've seen in the last game with England that the dew set in later and it became easier to bat. So hopefully Temba can be lucky again and win the toss again. But if not, at the end of the day, it's going to be about who puts on the bigger score. Whether we bat first or bowl first, we're going to have to score more runs than them to beat them.
Yeah. 100%. It's the batting that's we're gonna need our batters to come to the party this time around, and that's just how it is. I'm very, very worried about this, because I wonder how we're going to react after this defeat. If we lose, if we win, that will be obviously elation for everybody, and everybody will be happy about it. And I think South Africa, once again, have put our fate in other people's hands, unfortunately, in another team's hands. So this is a cross fingers for the West Indies and a prayer for the West Indies. So everybody, I want you, it's Diwali as well, so everybody pray for Australia defeat, please. Let's do this all together. Maybe we close our eyes together and we wish for it, like in that Wonder Woman 1984, which was a complete trash movie, by the way. We wish for it that it will become true. Other than that, we need, in all seriousness, we're gonna need Quinton de Kock to come to the blooming party. It's about time that the man puts in a proper innings for South Africa. And I said man because he's no longer a boy. So it's about time that he puts in a proper performance for South Africa. I want to see like a 70 or 80 or 40 or 50 balls. That's something that we need from him. We need him to bat deep. We need Aiden to come out there and play the best game of his life. We need Rassie to play his best game of his life. We need Bavuma. We need everybody to just come to the flipping party with the bat, please. Other than that, I have confidence with our bowling attack. I have a lot of confidence in our bowling attack that we'll be able to at least make it very difficult for England to score. I think England will still score runs, but I think it will be a chaseable total. I'm not really so fearful of their bowlers as much. I think our batters should be able to handle their bowling attack. I feel our bowling attack is way better than England's bowling attack. This is,
agreed. The key bowler will be Adil Rashid. How we deal with him is going to be crucial, because he's been very good in the tournament. He's been good in T20s overall. He's really, really a fantastic bowler and very crafty. But I agree on Quinny. He really needs to come to the party. I would like to see just a positive attitude from Quinny. He's been looking really sulky, and like he doesn't look really up for it, and he's crouching around and shaking his head, and looking at his bats like, where is the middle? We really need him to hit some form, just assert himself. The inform Quinny that walks down the wicket and smashes the bowlers over the top, doesn't worry, doesn't care, flips it over fine leg. That series England played here, and he would just smash Archer all over the place. Archer was bowling 150k, everybody was ducking and diving, and he was just walking down and hitting him over fine leg, not having a worry in the world. That's the Quinny we need on Saturday.
Yeah, 100%. So, guys, I'm going to go with my heart over here and still pick South Africa for a win. But I don't think that no matter how much I wish for it, I don't think South Africa will completely destroy England. So we're going to have to hope that Australia loses a game against the West Indies. And that's just the bottom line. We're going to have to analyze it again. I think if there is a defeat and South Africa don't go through, South Africa really, really need to consider how they approach T20 games in the future, particularly with selection. A guy like Yanama needs to get an opportunity that is far. We need some big hitting, fast players that can really put it to the sword, take any team and dismantle them. And we're going to need to find a combination up front. We need to give Aiden more responsibility. There's a lot of great things that we're going to be discussing if South Africa don't go through to this World Cup. But to the guys out there, thanks a lot for tuning in. Werner, do you have any final say that you want to say? Any final words?
I think even if we do beat England and go on to the semis, we still need to have a different approach. And I still believe we need to get in more youngsters. Starting from the next series against Netherlands, we can rest Rabada, rest Norke, rest Quinny, rest someone else as well. Doesn't matter. Bring in some young blood. Let's see what they got. Let's incorporate them there and then see, maybe we can decide, okay, this guy definitely has what it takes to make it at the international level. So let's give him an opportunity in the next T20 series that follows. Something like that. We need to start incorporating. We give Ryan Rickleton a chance as backup for Quinny. That's the wicketkeeper I would have as backup for Quinny at this stage in T20s. He has the power game. He has all the shots in the book. We have Arena as well. Arena hasn't quite done it at T20 level just yet, but he'll get there. But there's a bunch of young, talented guys that's going around. We've seen in this T20 series, we've seen Heath Richard come in and hit a 14-ball 40. We've seen Donovan Ferreira coming in and hitting it all over the place, and looking like the improved class in Weerga. The improved class in, what would you call it?
Variant.
Yeah, the upgraded class in, or the informed class in version. And yeah, Stubbs, and there's a bunch of guys that has a lot of potential. And I would just like to see us bring them in, give them opportunities, because what we're doing right now is not working. This conservative approach, let's get ourselves in over 20 balls, let's keep our wickets for the last 5 overs. It doesn't work in 20 over cricket. You can still get away with it in ODIs. You can bat 20 overs at 5, maybe 6 runs and over, and then catch up at the back end and set a big total. We've seen us do that. Anytime we've scored 400, we'd usually be like 250 after 35 overs, not anything special. But then you'd have someone like AB come in and smash it all over the place, and that takes us to 400. But when we don't have that right now, we have to be more attacking. It's frustrating sometimes watching us. This conservative cricket in T20s, it just doesn't fit. You don't see England batting conservatively. You don't see Pakistan, India bat conservatively. You don't see West Indies. Okay, West Indies are doing poorly right now, but their approach, I feel, is still right. Mainly still looking to attack first, and then if you can't, then rotate the strike. But we have this, let's get a single here and there. Let's see if we can possibly eke out a boundary in and over. And that's not the right approach, in my opinion.
I mean, I spoke about it before. Back when Boucher was appointed, I was like, why are we not going with giving youngsters opportunities so that they can grow over this next couple of years? We've got the ICC tournament, we've got the World Test Championship, which we were already out of, by the way. We already put ourselves in a difficult position to even try and win that, and yet we still went to try and win every single test match instead of taking a risk and playing youngsters that can actually learn from the losses rather than senior guys that couldn't. And that's my biggest problem here is if we don't start building for the future, we're always going to be selecting players that are mediocre. We're never going to pick and grow superstars, because that's what we need to do currently. We need to give players the opportunity to learn from Quinton in his prime, to learn from KG in his prime, to learn from Andy Nokia, now that is a world T20 superstar, to learn from Tebre Shamsi, to learn from even Temba Bavuma that's in here as a captain, what he brings to the side, to learn from this player, the senior players, and David Miller as well. There's so much that these youngsters can learn from, and you have to put them in between. Janneman should have been in the squad. 100%. That was what I said back then. A guy like Marco Murray should have been given more opportunities. Even as a guy like Vian Libber, who can hit a long ball, should have been given more opportunities. There are so many people that could have been given opportunities over here, and that's just my feeling around this. We need to start planning for the future properly. We need to invest in players. They might not be right now as good, maybe on paper, as someone else statistically, but if they have the potential to reach there, we need to give those guys a shot. I think that's.
I think a team like Sri Lanka, who's obviously out of the tournament already, are taking more out of this tournament than we are. We have an average age of like 31, 32, but Sri Lanka's average age is 26. They are developing guys now, giving exposure to guys now, Asalanga, Asaranga, or Fernando, whoever it is. They're getting the exposure now, and they're stepping up now in this last few games. It's starting to step up. Asaranga obviously is world class. He's number one. Took over from Shamsi now, so there's no disputing that. But they're getting that exposure now, so they'll be ready by next year's T20 tournament. They'll be ready by 2023's ODI World Cup to be a lot more competitive. And by that time, our guys will be a little bit older again. And it feels like we're going to keep going back to the same guys. Yeah, we're going to have the same guys by the 2023 World Cup. And then we possibly then do well there. And then it's like, okay, now we have to try out the guys.
Yeah.
While we should be start doing it now while we have young guys in form right now. That's the other problem I have. We rarely pick players on form. And before heading into this World Cup, Klaasen wasn't in form.
Yeah.
Linde was in form. He wasn't picked in the main squad. We have a bunch of guys in the domestic scene who are in great form, who isn't getting those opportunities. So I think selection really needs to be looked at as well as then the approach in general.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you, because I mean we've got some young talent coming through, like Dewald Brevis here. I spoke to Andile last night, Mahakane. That all-rounder, bloody talented, needs to get more opportunities. I've seen some guys that are playing for the Cobras currently as well. There's an all-rounder over there that's very talented, tall bowler, fast bowler, all-rounder, very good as well. I've watched him play some awesome shots. Why aren't we giving these guys opportunities to play? I just don't understand. So this needs to be, because now we're going to sit with this. We should have done this when Amla was about to retire. After the 2019 World Cup, that was when I said there needs to be a rebuild. Youngsters need to get opportunity.
Yeah.
Give these boys an opportunity right now. We've got 2 years to plan, because there's a test championship that we're never going to get out of. We need to compete and get the best opportunity against the top players in the world. If that team had to play against England, a young Van Tonder, for example, and stick with Zubair Hamza and do those type of things, give Kyle Verreynne an opportunity to anchor that batting lineup. Let them bat with Quinny. Let him learn from Quinny. Build a team that can last us for the next 5 years. Do you understand how good that team will be after this in the next Test Championship? Now we're scraping around looking for players just to fill a spot for a year or two. Man, I'm over that.
The end of year 2 is going to be very important. Obviously, we still jumbled in the test between 3 and 6. We still haven't finalized what we want. Do we want Peterson in the? Do we bring Hamza in? Do we give Van Tonder a chance? Do we pick Verreynne? Do we still go? Do we still continue with Bavuma, even though he's struggling in tests? And then the thing is, what I am actually looking forward to is the fact that there will also be an India A versus SAA tour at the end of the year, and that is going to be one I will definitely look out for. I want to see them giving all the players who are performing in the 4-day series now. They have to give. They have to open with Eddie Moore and whoever else is the inform opener at that time. Give Hamza a chance. Play Janneman at 4 where he's batting now. Give him that opportunity at the SAA level, and if he's still performing there at the SAA level in the middle order, then he can compete for a spot in the test team in the middle order. Obviously, it's going to be
exactly.
different for him because he's not used to it, but he can get used to it now in the season and in the SAA too, because we all know his ability. He has all the class. He averages like 50 in first class cricket. The only question is how was his ability against spin, but we won't know unless he isn't tested. And what better place to test him than against India A at the end of the year? So
also,
there's so much to gain out of the end of the year. I'm really looking forward to it, and I really want to see the SAA side stacked with youngsters. I don't want to see them play Van Boyon, even though he's got 100 now. He's 55, 56, 57. I don't know what's his age right now, but I don't want to see anyone over 30 almost. I want to see it stacked with youngsters. I want to see Marco Jansen taking the new ball with someone like Nandre Berger.
Or opening up the batting.
Breetzke and Moore opening the batting.
There's Ryan Rickleton. There's so many.
It's a very exciting prospect. And what I also want to see is I want to see that at the very least streamed. I want to be able to watch that SAA versus India A series. Even if it's at the same time as India series, make sure it's streamed on YouTube on Supersport like they're doing with the 4-day series now, so that at the end of the day, after watching SA versus India, after being frustrated with the guys doing the same things over and over, I can go at the night and rewind YouTube and say, okay, yes, as a team, at least there's something to look forward to. At least there's the young prospects coming through that we know in a year or two, they are the ones that have to lead us forward.
And
that's my opinion.
We need to move. You're spin is spot on. We need to move away from this tunnel vision selection as well, where we just look at. It seems to me as okay, here are the top performers in this particular domestic tournament. Okay, they are the next best in line. Let's put them in a long line. Let them wait. When this person's not here, then we put them next in line. Doesn't matter their age. Doesn't matter if they're 32. Doesn't matter if they're 33. Oh, we feel sorry for them. They didn't play for the Proteas. Let's give them an opportunity. No, bull. I think what they need to do is be less tunnel vision. If there's someone in Division 2 that has the ability that you need to look beyond just the performance of they scored a 50. How did they score that 50? What circumstances were they under? Was the team in trouble? Did they have to come and pull out a victory? What type of situation were they in? Who were they facing from a bowling side perspective? Were they facing spinners? Were they facing seamers? Was it at the end of the day? Was it after tea? Was it after lunch? Look at the specifics. Get people, scouts around the ground and all the domestic games and have a look. And I want to see someone like Victor to go down, if he has the full power, Graham Smith as well, to be at that SAA tour and sit there and watch these youngsters, not just pick the youngsters. Because we had something come out from Graham where he said, no, the SAA team needs to be back how it used to be, where it was the second best team that gets selected. Yeah. Sometimes the second best team is not always the best team for the future. That's my problem here. It's like, for example, they might pick a guy like Faj. For example, I'm just putting one out to Faji Beardine, when he did perform well in the T20s, but then you had a youngster like Tristan Stubbs, whose innings was a little bit more meaningful. He might not score a 50, but he showed intent, and he showed the right intent to win a game for the Warriors. That's something that, or someone like Erasmus, like you mentioned earlier on. So that's also something that we need to look at. So I just want them to think a little bit more outside the box, not just. So it seems to me very tunnel visioned at the moment. And like, for example, we've wasted an opportunity of a year to allow these youngsters to learn from the best of the best. When AB was still in the side, there was a lot of spots that we were looking to fill that could have been filled by a youngster. Now, we knew that Amla was going to move on. We've been looking for an Amla replacement. They have gone now with Keegan Peterson, but they first started with Zubair Hamza, who started very well against Pakistan. And then he did have a good shot in India. And then he plays England against the best possible bowling attack in the world at the time, other than South Africa and Australia. And he gets peppered, and then they drop him. First and foremost, they don't protect him either. They put him at 3 immediately, and they're like, we have a struggling opening partnership. It doesn't really matter. You go ahead. You go in and go face the new ball against Flippin, James and Broad and all of these guys, Anderson. And I mean,
it doesn't make sense because we with everyone before, we used to bring them in at 6-7. We did it with Dumini. We did it with Faf. We did it with all of them. Prince. everyone they've been brought in at 6-7, even though in the domestic level they might be a 3 or a 4. You ease them into international level. You don't bring them in at 3 against a new ball against Jimmy Anderson. Say, oh, okay,
Yeah.
let's see how you cope with that. You get an
And I use the example of
mean
England.
in swinger that no one can play, but then well, that's your opportunity. Let's move on.
And I use the example of England because I was on that tour. They brought Pope was a new young up and coming batsman. They didn't put him in the top order. They batted him at 6. They protected him.
Yeah.
They allowed the senior players to take the fire. So I'm
Yeah,
like, it's one thing seeing or being in an environment with a player. That's one thing. But it's another thing being out there in the middle at war with a senior player. Zubair Hamza coming in, and you have Hashim Amla sitting in there, he's batting with you, and you have an opportunity to bat with him and bat 150, 60 overs with him, or possibly, hopefully, cross figures that could have happened. That type of scenario could have happened.
Yeah.
That's something that you would want to see. Dale Steyn with having Anrich Nokia at that time coming in at the other end as a young Anrich Nokia, or Gerald Coetzee having the opportunity to come in there and playing with a guy like Dale Steyn. You've wasted that opportunity. So right now, South Africa have a good core of experienced guys that need to step up. We've got Quentin de Kock, we've got Kaiso Rabada, we've got Lungin Ngidi, we've got you could throw Aiden Markham into that mix. You could throw Anrich Nokia into that mix as well. You've got
Captain
a Keshav
Algar.
Maharaj who has you got a Keshav Maharaj that has extra time on him. Dean Elgar's coming towards the end of his career. Throw a couple of youngsters in there, put them in the squad, give them an opportunity to play, and let's see what they are capable of, and give them an extended run. You can't just give them a one series and expect them to perform and then say, okay, no, they don't have the chance, and they don't have the chance to be there. We stuck with AB through difficult times. We stuck through Graeme Smith even. Okay, Graeme Smith kind of hit the ground running in a way also as captain, but we've stuck with other players in the past. Why can't we stick with the new guys?
We stuck with Riley Rousseau through like 3 or 4 ducks. Exactly. Right at the beginning of his ODI career, because we knew the ability and the talent that he had to pull through, and it paid off later, even though he dropped us and took a callback deal. But it paid off, and you can still see him reaping the rewards now. How he's still playing now. But Pope was a good example.
Sorry, Pope was a good example.
Because obviously did very well against us, and he averages like almost 60, I think, in first class cricket. It's just insane. But he also went on that tour to India and struggled big time. Like all of our batsmen always struggle in India. He struggled big time there. But England are still backing them. It's not suddenly now that, okay, you struggled in India, no, okay, sorry, you go back to the domestic scene, we'll try the next guy. He's still going to get his opportunities and still batting lower down.
Yeah. And I don't want to hear this bull about we don't have enough players of color that are talented in this country. We do. They just need to be given the proper opportunities. The right guys need to be given the opportunities. Guys that are performing in domestic level, they need to be given.
I would love to see Glenton Stearman running in with the new ball in the test side. I think he's an exceptional long format bowler that also moves the ball off the pitch similarly to what Philander did, but with a bit more pace. Not that he's better than Philander, but just that he could do a similar type of role that Philander did. Maybe not with the bat, but with the ball, he could do a similar role. Yeah. We have a lot of potential in this country that really shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah, and we can't just say, but it's domestic cricket. You don't know how the step up's going to be for certain players. There are certain players that come out of school and they struggle when they take the next step. They take the next step into 4-day cricket and they struggle. Then there's others that take to 4-day cricket like a duck to water. Look at Parsons. Look at Andile Mokakane. Scored 98 on his debut in 4-day cricket. I know it might have been for the Dolphins England team, but it's still 4-day cricket. It's still difficult. It's not that it's easy. The teams that they play against are top quality players that you're playing against. Some players struggle. So others they have a tough time when they start at the beginning of the career, but they go on to be very successful. So we don't know which players are going to take to test cricket instantly or take to international cricket seamlessly. Because no one expected Rabada to have the career that he had so quickly. A lot of people maybe thought that he need to ease himself in, but he hit the ground running. Aiden Markram as well hit the ground running. That's
The
two
problem is
players.
Rabada is still running. We need to give him some time to walk it off a bit here and there.
Yeah, yeah, that's true as well. So I just want to see them build a team around that core group. We've got a very talented core group of players, a spine in a way you can call them. We need to start building a team around them so that they can grow as a unit. So that the next time we replace Quinny or we replace KG and we replace Lungi and we replace all these other players as they grow older, it's seamless. It's not like it was again when we lost players and we didn't have any replacements for them. That was the problem. We didn't have a Faf du Plessis mentoring the next captain, a vice captain. Appoint a young vice captain. Appoint a senior guy and a young vice, and then let them learn from each other so that when he takes over, it's seamless. Why not do that? Why are you
Yeah,
worried about
I
players'
was
feelings?
when Alga was appointed a test captain. I was very surprised that they didn't immediately announce Markram as the vice captain. Immediately I thought to myself, okay, Markram will be the vice captain, and then in a few years he'll take over. But that just didn't happen. So we're still sitting here wondering, okay, what's next? Okay, Dean Alga retires one. Then who's next? Who's going to take over the captaincy? It's not going to be Bavuma. Bavuma still hasn't figured it out in Test cricket, and he's over 30 now. So he can't be the next guy taking over. So who's it going to be? And is it going to be someone new from the outside taking over the captaincy? That's not going to work either. So I just we need the to understand the thinking process behind everything, because sometimes I look at our selectors' decisions, the selections they're making, and thinking, what's the thinking process behind them? And then like this World Cup squad, we see Linden not being picked and Janeman Malan not even in the squad, and Faf du Plessis not in the squad, and I'm thinking, why? And then they give us explanations, but they don't really give us explanations, because we all know that can't be all, and that just doesn't really make sense. So it's hard sometimes, but hopefully we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so guys, we had the first 30 minutes of a preview show, and then we had a little bit of a rant from myself and Werner. I like that we are aligned and we're thinking on the same wavelength. I think, Werner, what we can do in the future is maybe one show after the World Cup, maybe me and you can sit together and a couple of the guys, and we can put together some teams. Some teams
Sure.
of what we think should be the future teams. Who are the next in line for South Africa?
We can even
Who
pick the
else?
SAA team we want to see.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to click that notification bell for all future videos, please. That's how you get updated on all the videos that we put on the channel. But what you have to do is subscribe to Cricket Fanatics magazine. It's 100% free. Go to the link in the description and click on it, and you'll go to a landing page and you can sign up 100% free. All we need is your email address and your name and your surname, and that's all we need. And you sign up, and all issues, back issues, including the latest World Cup edition, 100% free. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Maybe we'll do a live Q&A when you guys can come on the show as well and ask us questions as well. You can phone in. We can talk about the game as well on Saturday. Let me know, guys, in the comment section if you'd like to see that. Tag me on socials if you want to see that. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys again very, very soon. Take care, everybody.